Here on this channel, I like to review video game guns and rank them based on the overall quality of their design. I consider factors like aesthetics, animations, functionality, how they perform, and how fun they are to use in game. This time, I'm revisiting Fallout 4 with the Anniversary Edition. Specifically, I'm looking at the guns included in the Creations DLC bundle. Are these guns well designed? Do they have good animations? Are they properly implemented? And most of all, are they worth your money? Well, I'm gonna tell you straight up, no. They all suck and feel lazily slapped together. This DLC is so bad, in fact, that it has a 22% positive rating on Steam. That makes it by far the lowest rated piece of content in Bethesda's history. It's even worse than that soulless DLC for Starfield. I was hoping for something awesome, but all we got was this lame and boring DLC. And you know what else is boring? Your browser. These basic browsers are so lame! At the same time, they lack optimization and quality of life features. So that's where today's sponsor comes in, Opera GX. Opera has utility and style. Other browsers eat up all your RAM, which can tank your performance in games. Wasting that much RAM in this economy is utter insanity. But with Opera's GX control, you can set limits on the browser's RAM and CPU usage. So that'll make sure your PC is focused on running the game, not the browser sitting in the background. Even better, Opera comes with a built-in VPN and an ad blocker, so you can mask your location for added security. And you don't have to worry about those sketchy pop-ups when visiting certain websites. There's also a neat little sidebar for quick access to tools and your favorite apps. That includes quick access to Opera's AI and ChatGPT. It's all very organized and convenient. Perhaps the coolest part about Opera GX are the mods and customization. There's all kinds of cool themes that replicate the look and feel of your favorite games. Just look at this Fallout New Vegas theme. It's freaking sweet. It's got the animated wallpaper, the amber coloring, and oh my god, it even has the sound effects to match. This browser is so peak! I give Opera GX a rating of 5 out of 5 bottle caps. It belongs in the S tier. Everything else goes in the trash tier. I recommend throwing out your old browser and switching to Opera GX. You can download it right now by using my link in the description or the pinned comment. Huge thanks to Opera GX for sponsoring the video. Now, let's get back to it. Before anyone says it, yes, I know. Creation Club content is not entirely made by Bethesda. Most of the work is contracted out to modders, and I greatly appreciate the work that modders do. They keep the game alive by giving us free content. So, in theory, I do like the idea of the Creation Club. I do believe that modders should get paid for their hard work, especially if it's high quality. There's so many mods I use where I'm like, holy moly, I can't believe this is free. This is higher quality than what most AAA studios can produce. But here's the thing. Not a single item in the Creation Club bundle is worth buying. The free mods are awesome, but the paid creations are absolute slop. There's no quality control whatsoever. It's almost like Bethesda purposely picked the lowest quality mods they could find. Dare I say, these creations are so stinky, they're not even worth pirating. You're much better off using your disk space for free mods instead. If a free mod sucks, who cares? It's free. But once you charge me $20 for DLC that's just recycled content, and you give it Bethesda's stamp of approval, then yeah, I'm gonna review it with the same level of scrutiny that I give to Bethesda. So to all the modders whose mods I'm about to review, please forgive me, for I'm about to rip these guns apart. Let's see how poorly these guns hold up against the scrutiny test. Let's start with what is possibly the most offensive gun in the whole Creation Club, the Anti-Materiel Rifle. Now I know what y'all may be thinking. How is this gun that bad? It's literally just the Anti-Materiel Rifle from New Vegas. Wouldn't it be the coolest rifle in the whole game then? Well, you'd think, but no. The concept is awesome. The PGM Heket 2 is one of the sexiest rifles ever made. But the AMR in Fallout 4 is a disgrace to its name. The model may look good on the surface, it may look close to the PGM Heket 2, but it's noticeably scaled down. Everything is smaller, especially the action and the magazine. This magazine clearly can't hold the massive 50 BMG. It looks like a 308 magazine. That's because the Anti-Materiel Rifle recycles animations from the hunting rifle, so it has to be shrunk down, or else the animations wouldn't line up. Even worse, the reused animations force this gun to be left-handed. Nothing about the recoil, sounds, or animations gives it that raw sense of power. It feels like a regular old hunting rifle, because that's exactly what it is. It's just a hunting rifle with a body kit slapped on it. It's like what racers do with their cars. They make it look like a supercar, but on the inside, it's just a Honda V6. It looks especially silly because they slowed down the cycling animation, because obviously, a slower animation makes it feel more powerful. And yeah, a slower, more weighty animation can make a gun feel more powerful, but in this case, it just looks like you're racking the bolt in slow motion, because that's literally what you're doing. All they did was slow down the animation, and the cycling animation doesn't even show the round getting fed into the chamber. It stays still in the magazine. Meanwhile, New Vegas managed to get these details right back in 2010. Somehow, these ancient animations are higher quality. The New Vegas AMR feels hefty and powerful. It's so powerful that it knocks you back when firing. And man, the sounds are like gun ASMR. Everything from the firing to the racking of the bolt. It's perfect. The anti-material rifle in Fallout 4 though, it's just a normal hunting rifle with lame animations and lackluster audio. This so-called AMR is a huge disappointment in terms of performance too. It's chambered in the almighty 50 BMG, but it hits like a wet noodle. It has a base damage of 50, which is comically terrible for a 50 BMG. It should be closer to 300, maybe 250 at the very least, if you want to artificially nerf it from being, overpowered. But 50? 50 is absolutely abysmal. It should be able to kill behemoths with ease, but due to its comically low damage, it's more suitable for killing radroaches and mole rats. And even then, it may struggle to kill them. The anti-material rifle is just barely more damaging than the 308 hunting rifle, and that's not a good starting point, because the hunting rifle is already criminally underpowered. These guys have no clue what a 50 BMG is. It's not meant for killing varmints or human-sized targets. It's made for destroying lightly armored vehicles. When 50 BMG hits a person, it rips off limbs and turns them into pink mist. It's total overkill. But in Fallout 4, it's total underkill. Even with the best upgrade, it only goes up to 75. Sheesh. What's truly despicable is that it has a 38 caliber conversion. Ah, yes. The left-handed PGM Heket 2 chambered in 380 auto. Because as we all know, you can very easily rechamber an anti-material rifle to shoot tiny pistol rounds. But in all seriousness, this shouldn't be an option. This gun should be 50 BMG only. They really butchered this gun, and you can mutilate it even further with some absolutely god-awful modifications. Ah yes, the stockless snub-nose anti-material rifle, chambered in 380 auto. Look at how they massacred my boy. They give you all this nonsense, but they didn't give you the option for incendiary or explosive rounds, which is the coolest part about the anti-material rifle. How am I supposed to enjoy the anti-material rifle if I can't throw deathclaws on their asses with explosive rounds? It's such a huge downgrade. The anti-material rifle in New Vegas was super badass. It felt powerful, and it was powerful, and it looked cool as hell while doing it. But this piece of trash in Fallout 4 is lame as fuck. It's boring, weak, and gives you no sense of satisfaction. Now compare this overpriced hunk of junk to the free anti-material rifle made by the Fallout 4 New Vegas mod team. This gun is absolutely glorious. The modeling is beautiful. It looks exactly like the PGM Heket 2, down to the most minute details. You can feel the weight behind every movement. This gun truly feels like a heavy anti-material rifle, and it sure is powerful too. The sounds are punchy, and it kicks like a mule. It's sure to put down any enemy in your sights. Well, to be clear, I did edit the damage myself, and that was like 5 years ago, so I have no clue what the damage is by default, but I set it to 300. Either way, this is what the anti-material rifle should be. This is something that I would actually pay money for. It's freaking awesome. I'm looking forward to seeing it again in the fan-made New Vegas remake. The official Creation Club anti-material rifle though? No thanks. It's so bad that I'm gonna have to place it in the abyss. It doesn't deserve a single bottle cap. They actually owe me 1 billion bottle caps for tarnishing the reputation of my glorious anti-material rifle. Next is the CR-74L, which is essentially a reskin of the combat rifle. It has the same rig, same animations, and everything. All they did was give it a super tacky body kit. I don't know what kind of aesthetic you would call this. It almost looks like they're trying to make it look tactical, but it's like cartoon tactical. So, it ends up looking like a Fortnite gun. It's just plain ugly. Dare I say, it's uglier than the combat rifle. Maybe. It is a close one. I mean, either way, it's just a slightly different flavor of the combat rifle. Nothing really sets it apart. It even has the same problem, where it's obviously meant to be using a rifle cartridge. Like, you can plainly see that there is a rifle round in the magazine, and yet, it shoots 45 ACP and ejects pistol casings. There is a 5.56 conversion, so at the very least, you do have the ability to use rifle rounds. But that still ain't correct. This magazine is sized for a full-length rifle cartridge, so it should be using 308. I also think it's really slimy how they made this gun overpowered. The regular assault rifle can only go up to 34 damage with the best automatic receiver, but the CR-74L goes up to 47. They're both chambered in 5.56, but one does 40% more damage for no logical reason. That's a pretty huge jump in damage and DPS. That's just objectively poor balancing, and it almost seems malicious if you ask me. They intentionally made this paid DLC gun overpowered to entice people to buy it. I'm not sure if it was the modder who balanced it this way, or if it was Bethesda. My money's on Bethesda though, because they suck at balancing their games. Overall, the CR-74L is a huge L. It gets 0 bottle caps. F tier. For yet another combat rifle reskin, we have the Manwell Rifle and Carbine. Now this one ain't that bad. I have to give credit where it's due, and this design looks pretty cool. At first glance, it looks like a typical bolt-action rifle, but it's not bolt-action. It's automatic. So, what's going on here? Do these guys not know that you have to manually cycle a bolt-action? Well, that could be the case, but from what I gather, it looks like they're trying to mimic one of those weird early 1900s prototypes where they took a bolt-action and converted it to fire automatically. It's a super cool idea. But, they didn't actually do any modifications to make it fire automatically. There's no operating system on this gun. The bolt just moves back and forth with no mechanical parts actually moving it. You see, automatic rifles need some kind of operating system to make them operate. They typically have gas operating systems. When the cartridge is struck, it explodes and shoots the bullet forward with immense gas pressure. A gas tube captures those expanding gases and redirects them backward to cycle the bolt. Most rifles use piston-driven gas operation, like the AK, but there's other variations like direct impingement, which is what the AR-15 uses. There's other types of operating systems too, like gas-delayed blowback, roller-delayed blowback, or even recoil operation. There's also straight blowback, where it just uses the inertia of the round going off to cycle the gun. But you only see that being used on pistols and subguns. Rifles can't really use straight blowback because they're too powerful. The gas pressure is really high, so if you try to make a straight blowback rifle, the bolt would move so fast that it wouldn't allow rounds to cycle. That, and it would probably break. I mean, it could hypothetically work, but you would need a comically heavy bolt to slow it down. And it's not a good idea to make your gun extremely heavy when it doesn't need to be. So that's why rifles typically use gas operation. When it comes to automatic bolt-action conversions, guns like the Charlton rifle and the 1915 Howell are prime examples. They started life as bolt-actions, but piston-driven gas operating systems were added onto the side to convert them to automatic fire. It's kinda hard to miss. It's like a big convoluted steampunk contraption. But with the Manwell rifle, they missed that part entirely. The bolt just goes back and forth with the power of imagination. I'm not saying it needs a big steampunk contraption to make it work. These specific guns look funky because they're hastily made prototypes, but they can look much more refined. The Sturmzeller 1902 is a good example of a more refined automatic bolt-action conversion. The operating system isn't so gigantic. It's got a sleek profile. If you ask me, I think the Manwell rifle should function more like the Sturmzeller. That would make it perfect. When looking at the overall visual design, it actually takes a lot of inspiration from the 1865 Spencer carbine, which is kinda odd, because that's a lever action, and this is a bolt action. Well, it's an automatic bolt action, but you know what I mean. So the lever part is just a trigger guard, and the trigger itself is almost non-existent. It's extremely tiny, and at the very rear end of the trigger guard. It doesn't look like there's enough room for you to pull the trigger back. And it don't help that this gun is using combat rifle animations. It just feels lame, stiff, and boring. It's especially jarring on the Manwell rifle, because you get a serious case of floaty hand syndrome. They didn't bother to make this hand grab onto the handguard. Yep, this is Bethesda certified, quality content. There's that, and your character doesn't operate any sort of magazine release. They just rip the magazine out with brute force. Even worse, the bolt doesn't cycle all the way back, so it wouldn't be able to feed rounds in the first place. Even weirder, the casings eject to the right, but there's no ejection port there. Seeing as the bolt is on the left, it should eject to the left. But that's the thing, this bolt shouldn't be on the left side in the first place, it should be on the right side. But if the bolt was on the right side, then they wouldn't be able to reuse the combat rifle animations, so this gun was just doomed from the start. At the very least, it's chambered in .308, which fits perfectly for the size of the magazine. Although, I do think it's a bit odd for this vintage-looking rifle to be chambered in .308. It would be more fitting if it had a vintage round to match, like 30-06. But there's no 30-06 in Fallout 4. The ammunition system is extremely simplified and limited. .308 is the only full-size rifle round, so it's the only option. But whatever, it's not a huge deal, and it does work just fine. That makes me wonder though, is this supposed to be a vintage pre-war gun? Or is it a post-war abomination made by some crazed irradiated bubba? The latter seems to be the case. In the quest to find the Manwell Rifle and Carbine, we take them off a couple of dead hunters who were hunting a legendary Radstag. Unfortunately for them, they're the ones who got hunted. They died. Probably because their shitty homemade guns jammed on them. I'm guessing the father was the original creator, and he made a second rifle for his son. These are the only two Manwell rifles in existence. You can't find them anywhere else. So yes, they are custom one-of-a-kind guns. I'm not sure why he would go out of his way to make this custom gun, when he could likely find a plain old hunting rifle. Either he did it for fun, or maybe he needed a full auto .308 to mow down legendary Radstags. That's a valid reason actually. Let's go with that. I do like the concept here. When done right, Frankenstein guns can look pretty cool. Sometimes the cursedness loops back around to being cool again, and this gun is pretty cool. It's very Fallout, you could say. It looks like he took the bolt of a Mosin, shoved it into the body of a Spencer carbine, and somehow made it feed with detachable box magazines. It's one hell of a contraption. It's the most bubbered rifle in existence. All it's missing is a functional operating system. Weirdly enough, these early game handmade weapons are extremely overpowered. I think they're the most overpowered guns in the entire game. For comparison, the regular combat rifle, when upgraded to .308, has a base damage of 57. Meanwhile, the Manwell carbine, when fully upgraded, has a base damage of 79. That's quite a huge jump in damage. Why the hell is this gun doing way more damage when they shoot the same bullet? Not only that, but the Manwell carbine is full auto, while the combat rifle can only shoot .308 in semi-auto. It's also insane how low the recoil is for a .308. You can effortlessly hold down the trigger and beam enemies with minimal input. In reality, shooting a .308 in full auto is like trying to ride an angry bull. Even crazier, the Manwell carbine has access to a 64-round drum, while the combat rifle can only go up to a 40-round box mag. The difference in DPS between these guns is ginormous. For the icing on the cake, the Manwell carbine comes with a legendary effect that doubles its critical damage. Holy moly! The Manwell carbine is comically overpowered. It outclasses the combat rifle in every single aspect. It does more raw damage, has a way higher fire rate, has a higher magazine capacity, and it has double the critical damage. The rifle variant is even more overpowered. With a fully upgraded automatic receiver, it has a base damage of 103. That's almost twice as much as the combat rifle. And again, this one is full auto, while the combat rifle is only semi. And if you want to use the semi-auto receiver with the Manwell rifle, it does even more damage, a whopping 135. Whichever receiver you choose, the difference in damage and DPS is astronomical. The Manwell rifle also comes with a legendary effect that gives it 50% more damage to animals. It can shred through a pack of Yaoguais like they're soft little teddy bears. Goodness gracious. These guns are blatantly overpowered. It makes the combat rifle look like a fucking BB gun in comparison. To really put the combat rifle in the grave, you can grab these guns right after you leave the vault, but the combat rifle won't start spawning until you get to level 15. There's no need to use any other weapon at all. You can grab these guns at level 1 and be set for the rest of your playthrough. Again, it seems they're purposely making these guns overpowered to get more people to buy them. That doesn't explain why the anti-material rifle is so bad though. Out of all the guns, you'd think that one would be overpowered, but it's not. I don't know, man. In some cases, it's greedy game design. In other cases, it seems like they're being spiteful to the classic guns. Anyway, I'm also wondering why these guns have varying damage and magazine capacity when they use the same bullet and the same magazines. The rifle does more raw damage, but the capacity is about 3 times lower than the carbine. The rifle's magazines hold 6, 12, and 24, while the carbine's magazines hold 16, 32, and 64. So the rifle's magazines are artificially limited, while the carbine's magazines magically hold more ammunition than what's physically possible. In reality, the capacity should be somewhere in the middle. The small magazine should hold 10, the medium magazine should hold 20, and the drum should hold 50. I don't know why they made these as two separate guns, when they're the same gun. The only difference is that one starts with a shorter barrel. I think the carbine length barrel should just be an attachment for the rifle. And yeah, you can lengthen or shorten the barrel for both guns. It's really confusing. You can turn the carbine into a rifle, and you can turn the rifle into a carbine. So there's literally no reason for these two guns to be separate. Terrible balancing aside, I do like the concept. The idea of the Manwell Rifle is cool, and it does look good on the surface, but it's not actually functional, and the reused animations make it feel like yet another lazy reskin. It's too bad. I'm a big fan of those weird early 1900s prototypes. This design has potential. It could receive a high rating if executed correctly. They just gotta give it a functional operating system and a new set of animations. Then, it would be an awesome gun. They also need to balance it properly. As is, it's so overpowered that it trivializes the whole game. I was gonna give this gun 2 bottle caps for being a good idea, but for being blatantly pay to win, I'm gonna have to lower my offer to 1 bottle cap. The Manwell Rifle and Carbine belong in D tier. For a much better automatic bolt-action rifle, I recommend the NZ41 by Cadaver. Now this gun looks awesome. This is what I imagine when I think of a Frankenstein Fallout gun. It looks cool, and it's a 100% legit and functional design. It's based on the real-life Charlton rifle that I mentioned earlier. It's an automatic conversion for the Lee Enfield. All around, this mod is very high quality. It looks good, and the custom animations are sweet. It makes this gun addicting to use. And there's a whole slew of customization too. Now this is the type of stuff I expect to get when I'm paying money for a mod. I expect quality, not slop. Well, to be fair, this particular mod isn't made from scratch. All the assets were actually imported from Call of Duty Vanguard, so I guess all the credit goes to Activision then. I can't believe I would ever find myself complimenting the guns from Call of Duty Vanguard. They can be extremely cursed. But, if you put these cursed guns into Fallout, then, funnily enough, they fit in pretty good. Next is the Handmade Double-Barrel Shotgun. I do like what they're going for here. The overall design looks, pretty cool. It's certainly much better than those shitty pipe pistols. However, it's not any more functional. There's nothing to strike the cartridges and make it go boom. There's no firing pin, no hammers or anything. There's not much of a receiver or internal parts. Half of it is just fucking gone. How do you mess that up? That's like building a car with no engine. It looks even sillier with those springs thrown in there. Like, what the hell is that for? Are they recoil springs? On a double barrel? The triple barrel variant is even more nonsensical. The third barrel is attached by some kind of curved pipe or whatever. There is no firing mechanism anywhere near that third barrel. So, just like the other two, there is zero chance of it being functional. The funny thing is, handmade shotguns can be extremely simple. All it requires is a pipe, a shotgun shell, and something to strike the primer. You don't even need a trigger. It can be a slam-fire pipe gun. More intricate handmade shotguns can be made, with a working trigger and break action mechanism, but that requires more gunsmithing skill and knowledge. A simple slam-fire pipe gun would be much easier to make, so that would probably be more common. These guys are overcomplicating it, while also not knowing the basics on how a firearm works. You can't forget the most important part, the part that makes it go boom, or else the whole gun design is a complete and utter failure. Basically, it's just a reskin of the double barrel. It doesn't really do anything different, besides look a little bit different on the outside. Besides that, the performance and the animations are the exact same, and the animations don't really line up that well. The barrels are really far apart, so it looks really silly when your character shoves in both shells at the same time, with one hand. It's even more jank with the triple barrel. You can clearly see that one of the shells isn't in your hand. It just floats into position. I'm not sure why these barrels are so far apart in the first place. It seems like they did this only to give it a more shitty handmade aesthetic to it. But ideally, the barrels should be close together. The further apart they are, the more you have to manually adjust your aim. At this point, with the barrels being so far apart, you might as well give it a unique pair of iron sights for each barrel. It's also ridiculous that the shells eject by themselves, but this handmade gun obviously doesn't have an ejector. It doesn't so much as have an extractor either, so you'd have to pinch the shells with your fingernails and shake it up and down to get the shells out. Now that would be a pretty funny animation, and it would make sense for a shitty handmade gun, but sadly, all we got was a lazy reskin with reused animations. Even funnier, this gun doesn't have a top lever, so there's no way to break open this break-open shotgun. But this is a shitty handmade shotgun, so I guess there's nothing really locking the barrel in place. It probably opens up simply by yanking the barrel. It wouldn't matter much either way, because the vanilla double barrel animation doesn't show your character hitting the top lever. This shotgun was just doomed from the start. The concept of the handmade shotgun is good, but the execution ain't too hot. But hey, unlike the other pipe guns, this design is salvageable. They just gotta move the barrels closer together, fill in the missing receiver, and give it custom animations. As is, the handmade shotgun ain't too good. But you know what? I'll be nice and give it one bottle cap for having the right idea. The handmade shotgun goes in D tier. Next is a callback to Fallout 1, the Colt 6520, which is referred to as the classic 10mm pistol in Fallout 4. I already addressed this gun in my review on the guns in the Fallout show, but I didn't go into depth on this particular Creation Club version. The Colt 6520 in the show looked pretty decent. I mean, it's still a goofy design, but it looked cool on the surface. The Creation Club version, though? Hell no. It looks like a foam LARP toy. Just look at this thing. It's fucking gigantic. The regular 10mm in Fallout 4 is already a comically oversized handgun. It makes the Desert Eagle and Mark 23 look like little baby guns. But somehow, the 6520 manages to dwarf the 10mm. It's double the fucking size. It's even bigger than the 10mm with a long barrel and a muzzle brake. Those attachments make this pistol about as long as your thigh. But the default 6520 with no attachments reaches all the way past your kneecaps. It looks like you're carrying around a mutated third leg. This shit is so long, they gotta call me the tripod. I never thought the 10mm would lose its crown, but now it's safe to say, the 6520 gets the award for the most comically oversized handgun in gaming history. This all-metal handgun is turbo obese. It would easily weigh over 10 pounds, which gives it a BMI rating of over 100. It's so fat, it should be a contestant on The Biggest Loser. There's no way a human would be able to use this giant, unwieldy slab. Some people would probably say it's meant to be used by power armor, but that's just a load of baloney. The 6520 is supposed to be a normal-sized handgun. It's a 10mm revolver, not a 40mm grenade launcher. You don't need a gun this gargantuan for 10mm. It works just fine in a normal-sized handgun. Even if they shrunk it down, it's still not a very good design. At first glance, the 6520 appears to be a revolver, but when you reload, you shove in a magazine. So what the hell? It's a magazine-fed revolver? That's literally a meme. Everyone knows that you don't load revolvers with magazines. The rounds are in the cylinder, obviously, the part that revolves. That's exactly why it's called a revolver. Whoever designed this gun is so extremely ignorant about guns that they don't have the slightest clue on how revolvers work. Or maybe they're so supremely intelligent that they actually designed a working, magazine-fed revolver. It's like the bell curve meme. The only people who think revolvers are fed by magazines either know absolutely nothing about guns, or they know so much that they have forbidden knowledge. Meanwhile, everyone in the middle, people with average gun knowledge, think that there's no such thing as a magazine-fed revolver. And for the most part, that is true. But the dark truth is, yes, there is a real magazine-fed revolver. There's two, actually. The Landstad 1900 and the Dardic. The Colt 6520 seems like it would function more like the Landstad, so let's start with that one. The Landstad 1900 feeds through a detachable box magazine that you have to insert by taking off the grip panel. So already, that's a horrible design. Like, what's the point in making it magazine-fed when you have to disassemble the weapon to load it? I don't know, man. Early 1900s guns are really goofy. But once the magazine is in the gun, it pushes the round forward into the bottom chamber, and that chamber then rotates 180 degrees to line up with the barrel. There isn't 6 chambers like a regular revolver, just 2. So, it's not really a revolver, more like a 180 rotator, but whatever. Technically, it does revolve. Once the round is fired, it gets pulled out by the extractor on the bolt and ejected out the rear end. In that aspect, it's like a regular pistol, but it has the revolver part too. It's like a mutated FEV abomination. It's an insult to Browning's glorious creations. This thing is just extremely weird and suboptimal. It makes you wonder why the creator ever thought it was a good idea. To be as fair as possible, this gun was made in 1900, and back then, there wasn't a standard for self-loading firearms yet. People were still trying to figure it out to see what works best. And turns out, this design does not work the best. It was a total failure, actually. The Landstad 1900 never made it to the mass production stage. Only one prototype was ever made. The creator presented his contraption to the Norwegian government for military trials, but they rejected the design because it blew up during testing. They probably laughed in his face for making a literal meme gun. On paper, this design could work, but in practice, it never did. I could see it being functional if it was slightly reworked and made with modern tools and techniques, but even then, there's not much reason to do all that. The Dardic, on the other hand, was slightly more successful. Not by much, but it could actually shoot. The design is quite different from the Landstad. Firstly, it doesn't use detachable magazines. It has a fixed internal magazine, and it's fed by stripper clips, which is kinda silly. What's the point in making it magazine-fed if it's still limited to an inconvenient clip-fed reload? I don't know, man. This level of genius is beyond my comprehension. When it comes to the feeding part, it's extremely weird. Instead of pushing the rounds forward into the cylinder is directly above the magazine, so the rounds go sideways into the cylinder. Normally, a cylinder's chambers would be sealed, but this revolver has chambers with gaping holes in the side. It's an open chamber design, they call it. The rounds slide in from one side, rotate, shoot, then rotate again, and fall out the other side. It's a very interesting concept, and in theory, it should work, but in practice, it didn't work that good. Mr. Dardic here made the ammunition triangular, and that caused problems, but he did have a good reason for trying it. You see, regular cylindrical ammunition leaves a bunch of wasted space between the rounds, but with triangles, they stack together very nicely. There's no wasted space. That allows the capacity to be higher, while still being the same size. That's pretty neat. But that extra capacity doesn't really matter when the rounds don't feed properly. Turns out, triangles aren't ideal for feeding properly into a gun. So, funnily enough, this revolver is prone to jamming. So, as you can guess, the Dardic didn't sell that well. It was overpriced and unreliable. The open chamber design would probably work better if they used regular ammunition, but in the end, there's not much reason to make a magazine-fed revolver. It's like a Rube Goldberg machine. It might be a cool contraption to admire, but it's overly complicated. It adds way too much extra mechanical nonsense for no real benefit. In general, the more complex a mechanical device is, the more complicated and expensive it is to produce, and the harder it is to make it reliable. The typical pistol designs we have today won for a reason, because they're objectively better in every aspect. They're reliable, straightforward, user-friendly, and easy to produce. For a futuristic handgun, it shouldn't be using an outdated design that's already proven to be unreliable. It should be inspired by designs that are genuinely good and provide some benefit over a traditional design. Something like the Lago Alien, with its low recoil design, is a good example of how a futuristic pistol should be built. Even then, I don't inherently hate the idea of putting a magazine-fed revolver into a video game. If done right, it can be a genuinely awesome and funny meme gun. Cyberpunk did it best with the Materiel. It's heavily based on the Landstad 1900, but they also threw in a Luger-style toggle lock action to make it even funnier. The design is extremely silly and suboptimal, but in theory, it could be functional. It might be a bad concept, but it has really good execution with over-the-top animations and high explosive performance. That is how you do a magazine-fed revolver. If you're gonna do it, you have to go all the way and make it an epic meme gun. If you half-ass it, like what they did with the 6.520, then it's not very cool. It's just lame. This one is so lame that the cylinder doesn't even rotate. It's a static mesh. That's because it reuses animations from the regular 10mm. They didn't bother animating anything else. They just copy-pasted the animations with no adjustments. So that's why the cylinder doesn't rotate. And this slide release isn't connected to the slide. It's a whole block away. Worst of all, they didn't model a magazine for this magazine-fed revolver. Your character shoves in a stick of nothing. They just motion their hand as if they're reloading. It's like what kids do when they pretend to reload toy pistols. If you're gonna make a magazine-fed revolver, you gotta go all out on the animations. You gotta make it cool. It's go big or go home. And this revolver looks like it crashed into a tree while drunk driving on the way home. The lack of custom animations is really killing the potential of these gun designs. Now compare this to the Colt 6520 made by Web Productions for Fallout New Vegas. The animations on this mod are freaking sweet. Would you look at that? The cylinder actually rotates. Now this is how you make a magazine-fed revolver. If this mod was put into Fallout 4 as a creation, then I would actually like it. But no, we got the lame reskin instead. The funny thing is, the Colt 6520 wasn't supposed to be a magazine-fed revolver. It was supposed to be an auto revolver. They are two completely different things. A good example of an auto revolver is the Mateba Unica. It's a revolver with a normal cylinder. There's no magazine or anything. But the big difference is that the frame slides back after firing, which cocks the hammer and puts it into a single action position. That makes the trigger pull lighter, which makes it easier to be more accurate. A double action trigger pull on a revolver is really heavy. It takes a lot of training to get good with it. So, in a sense, an auto revolver is like a self-loading pistol with a slide that cocks the hammer, but it doesn't have the self-loading magazine part. It's still a revolver. That's how the Colt 6520 was supposed to operate. The writers intended for it to be an auto revolver, but that term got misinterpreted by the artist. They thought it meant the same thing as a magazine-fed revolver, so that's how the Colt 6520 ended up being cursed. It's also important to note that this particular design was basically ripped from a comic series called Hardboiled. I guess the designers saw this particular gun, liked it, and decided to put it into Fallout as the supposed auto revolver, without knowing what the term actually meant. Nobody bothered to correct it, probably because they thought it was funny. So, as a result, we are forever stuck with the cursed 10mm magazine-fed revolver. This design may be a certified hood classic, but it's also a certified boneheaded mistake. It was never supposed to exist. Personally, I would rather have the original concept, the auto revolver that the writers intended. I've not seen a single person bring that version to life though. The only redesigned versions I could find either turn it into a normal revolver or a normal pistol. This one, for example, turns it into a break-open revolver with an 8-round cylinder. It's pretty neat, but as you can guess, I do think it's a bit oversized. Meanwhile, this other recreation makes it more like a 1911. Now this one in particular looks pretty solid. I quite like it. That makes me think, they should split the 6520 into two weapons. One that's a typical self-loading pistol, and one that's an auto revolver. The self-loading pistol should be modestly sized. It should be built like a 10mm 1911. That would make perfect sense, seeing as the manufacturer is Colt. It should be like a futuristic version of the Colt Delta Elite. That would be awesome. Meanwhile, the revolver should be chambered for a bigger round. 10mm is powerful for a normal pistol, but it feels like a waste to put it in a revolver, especially since you only get 6 rounds. Well, maybe 8, but that's the max. A self-loading pistol could hold 3 times the amount, or even more if you want to load it with a fucking drum magazine. Revolvers may have a limited capacity, but they can handle much bigger and more powerful rounds. So instead of using 10mm, I think the 6520 revolver should be using something big, like 500 Smith & Wesson. Basically, I think it should be built like the Mateba Unica, but chambered in 50 cal. That would be extremely radical. The bottom firing cylinder and low bore axis would give it relatively low recoil for how powerful it is. And it would be super accurate thanks to its crisp single action trigger. It would be the ultimate Giga Chad hand cannon. Now that would be a good sidearm for power armor. Meanwhile, the self-loading 10mm would be used by infantry. Man, my ideas are awesome. Bethesda should hire me to be the lead gun designer for Fallout 5. I would ensure that all the guns are super cool. But sadly, all we got for now is the cringe magazine-fed revolver that's not even animated. This gun is so bad that they owe me money for even looking at it. It gets negative 6520 bottle caps. The classic 10mm is going in the Fallout 4 assault rifle tier. Finally, we found a gun just as bad as the Fallout 4 assault rifle. They make for quite the lovely pair. Next up, we got a bunch of Fallout 3 callbacks. I don't want to go too in-depth about their designs. I want to save that for when I cover them in the Fallout 3 gun review. For now, I'll mainly go over how they've been implemented into Fallout 4, and how they compare to the originals. First up is the prototype Gauss rifle. It looks pretty darn good. Out of all the Gauss rifles in Fallout, I would say this one has the best looking design. And the Fallout 4 Creation Club version is a mostly faithful recreation. There is one big change though. They mirrored it. So the magazine is on the left side now. That is a good change though. I fully support it. The Gauss rifle in Fallout 3 had the magazine on the right side, which is really odd. Side-fed magazines should be on the left side, so you can easily reload them with your left hand. I have no clue why they would put it on the right side. That would make it really awkward to reload. But that's the thing, you never touch the magazine. You only power it with fusion cells. Somehow, it has infinite projectiles in the magazine, but you have to charge it with a fusion cell after every single shot. It seems Bethesda has no clue how a Gauss rifle works. Gauss rifles don't shoot laser beams. They shoot solid projectiles with the power of electromagnetism. So you can't just power it up. You have to load it with physical bullets too. So did they fix this with the Creation Club version in Fallout 4? Somewhat. It does use the 2mm round as ammunition now. so that part is good. But the reload animation doesn't show you actually loading the bullets. They somehow made it worse than the original. You don't load it with the new magazine, or with fusion cells. Instead, you power it with mechanical energy by winding it up like a fucking jack-in-the-box. Somehow, that gives it enough power to launch projectiles at hypersonic speeds, and it magically transports the ammunition from your inventory into the magazine. That's just fucking ridiculous. Out of all the guns, they chose to reuse animations from the goofy laser musket. That fucks up the third-person positioning too. Your character doesn't shoulder it properly. You hold it right next to your eyeball, which obviously isn't very good technique.
Hey, you're finally awake.
Could they seriously not have used anything else? I would take assault rifle animations over this shit. Ideally, it should have custom animations, but if they had to reuse any set of animations, I feel like this is the obvious pick. As a result, the Gauss rifle is supremely unimmersive. I would love to use it, but I can't stand using guns with mismatched animations. Winding up a Gauss rifle just feels wrong. A better free alternative is the Gauss Rifle mod made by the Capital Wasteland mod team. This one is a 100% faithful recreation of the Fallout 3 Gauss Rifle. It has the good old right-sided magazine, and you charge it with fusion cells, instead of loading it with 2mm. So, it's not perfect, but I would rather have the flawed old version over the new silly wind-up toy. For something even better, I recommend the M72 Gauss Rifle by Eutherian. This one adds the Gauss Rifle from Fallout 2. Honestly, I don't like the design quite as much as the Fallout 3 Gauss Rifle. It looks a little goofy and cartoonish, but in terms of animations and function, oh yeah, it's way better. With this Gauss Rifle, you actually load it with a magazine. It's freaking genius. I would say this is the best overall Gauss Rifle mod for Fallout 4. It's so good, in fact, that it's included in Fallout London. That's an entirely free fan-made Fallout game, if you aren't aware. I recommend trying it out. It's pretty cool. And you should most certainly watch my gun review series on it. They included a bunch of awesome mods made by the Fallout community. When it comes to the prototype Gauss rifle, I can't give it a single bottle cap. It belongs in F tier. The model does look good, but the reused animations kinda ruin it. Now for the heavy incinerator. Basically, it's an oversized flamethrower, but it doesn't simply spit out waves of flames. Instead, it launches individual fireballs. It's a pretty interesting concept. The idea here is to have a long-range flamethrower. When it comes to the Fallout 4 version, visually speaking, it's a mostly faithful recreation, with just a couple minor changes. Like, they slightly changed the placement of the canisters. I'd say this straight vertical orientation looks more organized, and it looks like it has better cable management. The pistol grip is further back too. But again, I think it looks fine. The big thing to worry about is the reload animation. It is slightly better than Fallout 3, but it's still not that good. In Fallout 3, you didn't really do anything to reload the incinerator. You somehow flip the whole gun over and support the entire weight of it with your right hand, which is a pretty amazing feat when you consider that this hunk of steel is well over 50 pounds. Then you just kinda adjust a valve and it gets reloaded. It's a pretty lazy animation. The Fallout 4 version has you reload a canister, so that's better. However, it's a reused animation from the flamer, and this reload animation doesn't make much sense. The canister you're replacing isn't the fuel, it's just the pressurized air, so you're only reloading half of what you need. You need to replace the fuel canisters too, or you'll run out of fuel. That would be a lengthy reload animation, but that's how it should work. It should have a long reload, but the OP performance would make it worth it. But that's the thing, the performance is terrible. The Incinerator in Fallout 4 is absolute buns. It's such a shame. The Fallout 3 Incinerator is quite a menacing weapon. It's a full-auto, flame-launching sniper. You can launch fiery balls over 100 yards, like a trebuchet. The Fallout 4 version, though, is absolutely cucked. The damn liberals banned my full-auto flame launcher. This one is semi-automatic only, and it has a way smaller capacity, too. You only get 6 shots, when it should be 24. It's Massachusetts compliant, I guess. To make matters worse, the range and velocity has been heavily nerfed too. These fireballs are comically slow, and they drop like rocks. When aiming straight, the fireballs only go like 10 yards. Even if you angle it 45 degrees, it maxes out at like 25. I don't know who thought this was a good idea. Probably someone who never played Fallout 3 and has no clue how the incinerator should perform. The whole point of the Incinerator is to be a long-range napalm launcher. It's meant to snipe enemies like a piece of artillery, but for some god-awful reason, this Incinerator has the same range as a Bic lighter. I'd rather use a melee weapon at this point. Funnily enough, you can install a free mod that restores the Incinerator to its former glory. That's gonna be the most Bethesda thing ever. They charge us money for high-quality, curated mods, but these mods are lazy and broken, so we have to install free mods to fix the paid mods. I think the Incinerator looks fine. I would consider giving it a decent rating, but the god-awful performance is straight up disrespectful to the OG. I simply can't give this one a single bottle cap. F tier. Another Fallout 3 heavy weapon is the Tesla Cannon. The model here looks pretty good. I genuinely like the design of the Tesla Cannon. It's an epic shoulder-mounted cannon that shoots out deadly arcs of electricity. Don't ask me how functional it would be. I have no clue. But dare I say, the Fallout 4 version looks even better than the original. It's basically the same, just with high-quality graphics, and an actual trigger this time around. Funnily enough, the Tesla Cannon in Fallout 3 didn't have a trigger. Your character holds this canted forward grip with their left hand, and pulls their finger on nothing. Meanwhile, their right hand is holding onto this pipe thingy, which doesn't do anything. So to fix this boneheaded mistake, the newer Fallout 4 version has a proper pistol grip along with an actual trigger, and the forward grip was changed from canted to straight vertical. Wow, this design is a direct upgrade. It's quite a fun and effective weapon too, but it has one humongous flaw. There's no reload. It just fills back up automatically. So basically, it has a legendary never-ending effect built into it. Like, okay buddy, that's not how it works. You don't have an infinite amount of energy. You should have to reload it at some point. Well, it does consume fusion cells from your inventory, so it's not like it's running off nothing. There's just no actual animation to show that you're reloading it. The reload is literally instant. When you press the reload key, nothing happens. There's no pause to even suggest a reload. Like, come on, they didn't even try. You'd think they would have recycled animations from another gun, but I guess nothing lined up, so they just said screw it, we'll leave it blank. Well actually, I just tried out the Tesla Cannon on the most recent update, and they did add a reload animation for the Tesla Cannon. Now it uses the missile launcher reload, and my god, it looks terrible. Nothing lines up. It's not even close. Dare I say, this is the most scuffed reload animation in gaming history. You know what? I would rather have no reload than a scuffed reload. At least my eyes won't be burdened by having to see such a poorly mismatched animation. I'm not sure if this was intentional or if it's just a bug. I'm genuinely stumped. Knowing Bethesda, both outcomes are equally likely. Meanwhile, the Fallout 3 Tesla Cannon functioned completely different. It doesn't have a magazine capacity, it's a one-shot cannon. You plop a fusion cell on the rear end, shoot one time, and reload. It's a powerful weapon, so it consumes the whole thing in one shot. Also, it automatically ejects the spent fusion cell. That's pretty neat. It's a very simple animation, so it's extremely lame that they couldn't recreate it for Fallout 4. I don't mind giving it a higher capacity though. I guess you could adjust some kind of setting to make it consume less power per shot. And yeah, that is kinda how it works. The Fallout 3 Tesla Cannon has a base damage of 120, while the Fallout 4 version has a base damage of 60, so that's a 50% decrease in damage, which seems appropriate. But the unlimited capacity and lack of reload means the DPS is multitudes higher. As a result, this Tesla Cannon is extremely OP. You don't have to worry about aiming. You can simply aim in the general direction of the enemy, spam a flurry of Tesla arcs, and it vaporizes everything in sight. That includes the user too, so you gotta be careful at close range. By all means, the Tesla Cannon should be powerful, but it should have a lower capacity and a proper reload to keep it in check. Funnily enough, there's a free mod that adds a reload to the Tesla Cannon, and it looks pretty good. It doesn't have the auto-eject feature, sadly, but I would certainly take this over no reload at all. But once again, we have to install free mods to fix the paid mods. The paid mods which are supposed to be high quality and curated by Bethesda. I would love to give the Tesla Cannon a decent rating, but it's broken and unfinished, so I can't give it a proper rating. The Tesla Cannon gets 0 bottle caps. I have no choice but to put it in F tier. I hope you like nostalgia, because we got a couple more Fallout 3 weapons. Next is the Alien Atomizer. It's a mostly faithful recreation of the Atomizer. The only big difference is the texturing. Instead of shiny reflective chrome, it's got a whole lot of red paint, and the metal is all worn down. I can't say I'm a big fan of this new color palette. The all-chrome look in Fallout 3 is absolutely iconic. It stands out from all the other guns that are rusted and worn down. But the Atomizer in Fallout 3 is taken directly from a Zayton spaceship, so that could explain why it's in perfect condition. I'm guessing the Atomizer in Fallout 4 has been in the wasteland for a while, so naturally, it's going to be all worn down. But what about the red paint then? That just makes it look like a toy. I mean, to be fair, the original design is already cartoonish and toy-like, but the red paint makes it look more like a piece of plastic. It'd be cool if there was an upgrade to refinish the metal and bring it back to its former glory, but sadly, that's not an option. You can make it look even goofier with the new barrel attachments. My god, this shit looks like a roller coaster from the space zone in Nuka World. And the suppressor barrel looks like an obese double-decker space freighter. The only good thing they added here are the sights. Fallout 3's Atomizer didn't have any sights. I guess the aliens were only aiming with their heads-up display or something. That's not a bad explanation actually. But if they were to add sights, would they really be this basic? I would expect some weird futuristic looking optic for an alien space gun. And yeah, you can upgrade to a hologram sight. Now that's what I expect to see when I pick up a space gun. I think this should be the default. There shouldn't even be an option for irons. That's much too primitive for an advanced alien species. For once, I can't complain too much about these reused animations. They're reused from the Alien Blaster, so they line up pretty good. And these animations are fairly close to the Atomizer in Fallout 3. I would still prefer for this gun to have custom animations, but at the very least, it does work. But I tell you what though, that performance is a deal breaker. They severely nerf the projectile speed. These plasma balls move like snails on a Sunday stroll. Meanwhile, in Fallout 3, they're pretty darn quick. Even the look of the plasma is a downgrade. It just looked more alien in Fallout 3. Meanwhile, the Fallout 4 version is just a reskinned blue plasma ball. I guess the Atomizer ain't that bad when you compare it to some of the other creations. But still, I can't say I like it that much. I certainly wouldn't pay any money for this. But I guess I'll be nice and give it one bottle cap. The Atomizer goes in D tier. In the same vein, we have the Alien Disintegrator. Again, it's a mostly faithful recreation, but just like the Atomizer, they made it uglier by ruining the chrome finish and painting it red. I do like that they give it sights though. Again, the Fallout 3 Disintegrator didn't have sights, but for this one, we have the option for irons, a holographic sight, and a scope. The hologram sight is cool, but the scope is turbo lame. It looks alien on the outside, but when you zoom in, it's a generic crosshair. All they did was give it a blue overlay, because obviously, blue means it's alien. If it was clear, then it would look way too human. And much like the Atomizer, the new barrel attachments look really silly. Sure, this is alien technology, so naturally, it's gonna look weird to us humans, but this is like cartoon alien. It looks like some shit you'd see in Looney Tunes. What I can appreciate is that they give it a proper reload animation. The Disintegrator in Fallout 3 doesn't really have a reload. You just smack the gun, and it magically reloads. But with the Fallout 4 version, you actually pop out the blaster cartridge and replace it. This is a reused animation from the plasma gun, but it fits pretty good. So, I can't say it's a huge problem. And when you think about it, maybe humans modeled the plasma guns after the alien weapons. I don't know exactly what the lore is, but I think that would be pretty neat if that's actually the case. Yeah, that's pretty much all I got to say about the Disintegrator. It's fine, I guess. It's certainly better than some of the other guns that have poorly mismatched animations, that's for sure. Still though, I'm not a big fan of this design. I think I'll give the Disintegrator one bottle cap. It goes in D tier, right next to the Atomizer. And to make sure we're all on the same page here, these alien guns are getting low ratings because the original designs from Fallout 3 aren't very good to begin with. It's not really the fault of the guy who recreated them, it's just a bad starting point. Okay, that wraps up all the Fallout 3 recreations. I find it very interesting how they added 5 Fallout 3 weapons, and not a single one was a regular firearm. They specifically chose the wackiest designs to remaster. When I think of Fallout 3, these guns don't immediately come to mind. Rather, I think of the assault rifle, the 10mm, the Chinese assault rifle, and the Chinese pistol. Those are the guns I think of when I think of Fallout 3. Sure, I don't mind them including these other weapons. They're cool, I guess. But when they're prioritized over other guns that I like more, that is where I have a problem. The fact that they didn't bring back a single regular firearm is kinda suspicious. I swear, Bethesda must be allergic to normal guns. They only want the wacky, non-serious stuff. It's almost like they're actively trying to erase the legacy of the normal guns and replace them with only the goofy cartoon guns. Some people may call this a crackpot conspiracy theory, but I think the evidence is overwhelming at this point. But hey, it's not like it really matters, because if Bethesda did bring back those regular guns through the Creation Club, then the quality would be subpar. We've already got free mods that are way higher quality, so actually, I'm totally fine with these guns not being in the Creation Club. There's no chance I'd actually buy them. I'd stick with the free mods either way. At this point, you may be wondering, why do all these guns use recycled animations? Like, why can't these guns have custom animations that properly fit the weapon? Are these modders just lazy and apathetic? Do they not care about making good mods? Well, I don't think that's the case at all. I researched who the mods were made by, and quite a few of them were made by popular mod authors who've made very high quality mods with awesome custom animations. Like the guy who made the classic 10mm also made one of my favorite mods for Fallout 4, the New Vegas hunting revolver. This thing is supremely awesome. The model has intricate details, and the animations are exquisite. Dare I say, it's the most badass revolver mod of all time. And the guy who made the Anti-Materiel Rifle, the Handmade Shotgun, and the CR-74 made a whole slew of awesome free mods. Some of my favorites include the M1 Garand, the AK-5C, the HKG-11, and the Shogun Inertia. These mods are freaking sweet. They all look awesome, and they have cool animations to match. I especially love the meme variants. That brings their charm and coolness to a whole nother level. These mods are very high quality. It's very evident this modder puts a lot of love and effort into his mods. But sadly, all those qualities aren't present with these paid creations. These modders seem very competent. They've made really good mods in the past, so I don't think it's their fault. It feels more like Bethesda is holding them at gunpoint and telling them what they can and can't do. Bethesda just isn't allowing them to make custom animations. And why would that be the case? Well, it's probably due to Sony, actually. You see, Sony doesn't like mods. They simply don't allow mods with custom assets on PlayStation. So all the mods for Fallout 4 on PlayStation are very basic. They lack custom models and animations. At best, they can get mods that reuse vanilla assets. They're simply not allowed to have all the cool, high-quality stuff made from scratch. I'm not sure why Sony insists on not allowing custom assets. It doesn't make any sense to me. But either way, I'm guessing that restriction applies to the Creation Club stuff too. This stuff is sold as DLC, and you'd think DLC would be allowed to introduce new assets, but I guess creations are still classified as mods, and Sony doesn't like mods with custom assets. That doesn't explain why Creation Club mods have custom models though. I thought the rule applied to both models and animations, but maybe Sony made an exception for the Creation Club to have custom models, but not custom animations? I have no clue, man. This is all just my personal theory, and it's not 100% confirmed. But when you look at the newest mods for the Creation Club, these mods do have custom animations. And boy, these animations are pretty cool. These newer Creation Club mods with custom animations are not available on PlayStation. They're only available on Xbox and PC, and all the guns that don't have custom animations are available on PlayStation. So, I think that basically confirms my theory. Sony does allow custom models for Creation Club, but they don't allow custom animations for whatever reason. So really, I think Sony deserves all the hate here. They're the reason why Creation Club content sucks so bad. They're the reason why all this content feels recycled and unfinished, because they won't allow the modders to finish their mods. Still though, I do have to criticize Bethesda for compromising in the first place. The way I look at it, you shouldn't compromise quality just to make the content available on PlayStation. It's all or nothing if you ask me. Give me good mods, or give me no mods at all. I would rather have nothing than a ball of slop. So I am glad to see that Bethesda has shifted direction and is now allowing custom animations for their newer Creation Club stuff. That means these newer creations aren't available on PlayStation, but for everyone else, the mods are actually pretty good. They're still overpriced if you ask me. I'm sticking to free mods either way, but this is a step in the right direction. So throughout this video, when I'm smack talking how bad these mods are, just know that I'm not trying to insult the mod authors. All my disdain is directed at Sony and Bethesda for not allowing the modders to make good mods in the first place. I also gotta call out Bethesda for being extremely greedy with these creations. They take 75% of their revenue, the modder only gets 25%, or the modder gets a flat rate at first, and then Bethesda gets all the revenue afterward. What the hell? I thought the purpose of the Creation Club was to pay modders for their work. And yeah, they get some money, but most of that money is going towards Bethesda. That's absolutely despicable. They prop up the Creation Club as if they're helping modders make a living, but they take the majority of the profit while they do none of the work. This level of greed is biblical. If they truly cared about paying modders for their work, then they should give them the vast majority of the revenue. I can understand if they have to take a small cut, but it shouldn't be 75%. That's a horrible deal. If anything, it should be the complete opposite. The modder should get 75%, and Bethesda should get 25%. And even then, I still think that's too high on Bethesda's end. This level of greed would also explain why Bethesda agreed to the no custom animations compromise for PlayStation. They didn't care if the mods were broken and unfinished. They just wanted to make sure the mods were available on every platform, so they could have a wider base of potential customers. They were only thinking of quantity, not quality. I bet the only reason why they changed their minds is because the sales were so low. People saw how bad and broken the creations were, so they were like, damn, these suck. I would rather have nothing. In the end, it seems they finally figured out that it's more profitable to make high-quality content for a smaller base than to make low-quality content for everyone. Now if only they applied that logic to their future games. I really hope that's the lesson they learned, but this is Bethesda we're talking about. Chances are, they've learned nothing. Anyway, that's enough of that tangent. I decided to add this segment to the video last minute to make sure everyone knows where I stand. To be clear, I am not shitting on the mod authors. I very much appreciate their work. Really, I despise Bethesda and Sony for placing such harsh restrictions on them. So, if you guys catch any low IQ commenters saying, "Oh my god, I can't believe this guy is shitting on modders, he's so mean and evil," please, reply to them with a timestamp of this part in the video. But okay, let's move on to the next gun finally. Next up is another goofy design, the Cosmic Cannon. It looks like some cartoon comic book space gun, and that's because it is. Or more specifically, it's from a pre-war TV show, which I'm guessing is a live-action adaptation of a comic book. Probably. Either way, it's not meant to be a real weapon. It's just a goofy prop for a TV show with a goofy space theme. So why the hell did they have to make it into a real weapon? It should have stayed as a prop. This thing's fucking ugly. Well, as we all know, Bethesda really loves that 50s cartoon aesthetic. That's the real reason. They're slowly making every gun look like a Fortnite gun, because realistic guns are too scary. The Cosmic Cannon is very similar to the Institute laser gun in a way. It's a comically oversized toy laser gun that takes up the whole fucking screen. It has the same set of animations too. It's literally a laser gun reskin. The only thing that sets the Cosmic Cannon apart is that you can switch between cryo, laser, and sonic pulses. That's actually kinda cool. It's a very versatile weapon. The sonic pulses in particular are completely unique. It's kinda like the thunder gun from COD Zombies. It kills enemies with extreme force. But the Cosmic Cannon isn't quite as epic as the thunder gun. It's very lame in comparison. It doesn't throw enemies back and launch them 100 yards. It just kinda stuns them, and that's it. I don't know what else I can say for the Cosmic Cannon. It's a goofy cartoon gun. That pretty much sums it up. Sure, it's intentionally silly, and normally I can enjoy guns that are super goofy on purpose, but for this one, I just don't like it. You know the drill. 0 bottle caps. F tier. For another silly looking cannon, we've got the Solar Cannon. It looks like a turned over industrial building with a stock on it. It's quite ugly. There's no rhyme or reason to its design. And don't ask me how it works. It's pure magic. Apparently, it shoots balls of light. Or something. I don't know. It's called a solar cannon, so I would assume it shoots light. But these balls of light don't travel at the speed of light. Like, come on, this happens way too often in sci-fi. They tell us it's a laser gun that shoots beams of light, and yet, the beams of light don't travel at the speed of light. You gotta make it travel at the speed of light, otherwise, it's false advertising. And it's really funny how this light cannon has such hefty recoil. It's like turning on a flashlight, and it recoils so hard that it flies out of your hand. It's ridiculous. I'm quite tired of these supposed light or laser weapons being completely wrong. It should be shooting superheated beams of light, not slow-moving balls of energy. I don't know what else to say about this one. I think it's dumb and stupid and ugly, and I don't feel like spending much more time on it, so I'll just leave it there. As usual, I'll give the Solar Cannon 0 bottle caps with a spot in the F tier. For a much better light weapon, I recommend the Archimedes 2 by Nero. Now this one is an actual laser gun. It harnesses the power of the sun and shoots a constant beam of superheated light. The beam travels at the speed of light, and it has extremely low recoil. The outward design is pretty neat too. It's got a cool sci-fi look to it, but it still looks like something that could exist in real life. It reminds me of that goofy looking military laser gun prototype. It's like a big plastic fish that shoots laser beams. The only thing I don't like about this mod are the animations. It reuses animations from the Tesla rifle, and they don't look that great. But other than that, it's a cool mod. I definitely recommend downloading the Archimedes 2 over the phony solar cannon. Now this is peak laser gun design. Next up is a special gun from an entirely different franchise. This is the BFG 9000 from Doom. The actual gun part looks like the classic BFG from the first Doom game, but it also has a pistol grip and a modern looking stock like the 2016 version. It looks okay, I guess, but I can't get over how obese it is. At the same time, that is the whole point. BFG stands for Big Fucking Gun, because as you can tell, it's a big fucking gun. Ergonomics are not a concern. It's a big square that shoots a powerful blast of green plasma and obliterates everything in its path. It's like the original overpowered meme gun. It's a pretty epic gun in the Doom games, but this Fallout 4 Creation Club version is kinda lame. The recycled animations make it feel limp and boring. Sure, you do get the epic plasma explosion, and it's got big damage, but it doesn't feel very powerful, nor satisfying to shoot. Meanwhile, in the modern Doom games, it feels epic and overwhelmingly powerful, and it's sure to vaporize every demon in sight. The BFG in Fallout 4, though, it feels like the Walmart Great Value version. Just like some of the other Creation Club guns, it doesn't have a reload, it just fills back up, somehow. To be fair, that's how it works in Doom as well. There's no reload animation. You just pick up ammunition and it gets absorbed into the gun automatically. But in Doom, you can only carry a few rounds at a time. You gotta use the BFG sparingly, specifically for moments where there's a shit ton of enemies. You can't waste it on a couple of lowly demons. In Fallout 4, that's not the case. You can carry as much ammo as you want, so you can spam it over and over and over, all without reloading. By all means, the BFG should be overpowered, but you should only be allowed to carry a couple rounds at a time, so you have to use it sparingly. You shouldn't be able to use it as a primary that you can spam over and over. As is, this thing is blatantly overpowered. It's basically a cheat weapon due to its super high damage and unlimited capacity. The only downside is that it's so powerful that you may accidentally game into yourself if you're not careful. Man, the balancing of these weapons is extremely bipolar. These guns are either completely useless, or they're so overpowered that they break the game. I don't think these guys play tested these guns for 1 minute. They just slapped some random numbers on there and said, okay, that's good. Now let's charge people $20 for it. As usual, you have to install free mods to fix this paid creation. There's mods to alter the performance, as well as one that gives it a set of custom animations. It doesn't add a reload, but it does have custom idle, walking, and firing animations. These animations look pretty sweet, and they have that classic Doom feel to them. I especially love the strafing animation. It looks like it was taken straight out of Doom. Now, if only these animations were a part of the official creation. If the BFG was done right, I would give it a heaping pile of bottle caps and put it in S tier. But as is, this gun is broken and unfinished, so I have no choice but to give it 0 bottle caps. Sadly, the BFG will have to go in F tier. I saved the worst for last. This one has got to be the sloppiest slop in all of the Fallout 4 Slop Club. Behold, the Thunderbolt. What the fuck is this thing? It doesn't resemble a gun in the slightest. It looks more like an automaton dropship. It's just a giant hunk of metal with sharp edges and no sense of ergonomics. Dare I say, it looks AI generated, which is quite a feat, because this creation was added well before the big AI image generation craze. As you'd expect for some typical sci-fi slop gun design, this one has a bunch of random greebles all over the place. Like, why does it have so many motorcycle clutch levers? This shit is turbo goofy. I get that it's a sci-fi gun that shoots electricity, so it doesn't have to look normal, but come on, this gun is supremely ugly and festooned with nonsense. But I think the worst part has got to be the lack of custom animations. The Thunderbolt reuses animations from the Gauss rifle, and they don't line up very good. Your hand floats well below the handguard. It's blatantly obvious, and it absolutely destroys any sense of immersion. And just like the Tesla cannon, there is no reload whatsoever. Literally nothing happens. The gun just refills itself, and you keep on shooting. That is especially egregious. They couldn't be bothered to come up with a way to reload it. They probably should have just used the laser gun animations, not the Gauss rifle. Shoot, I would unironically take laser musket animations over this. Or maybe they could have used the Tesla rifle as a base. That would be the most fitting, but then it would just be a Tesla rifle reskin. So, I don't know, man. The best course of action here is to delete this gun entirely. It shouldn't have been conceived in the first place. It doesn't help that there ain't a lick of customization. You can't change a single thing about it. All you can do is upgrade the damage and slightly alter the performance. There's no modifications to visually change the weapon. At least with all the other creations, they have something. I find the name to be rather ironic as well. It's called the Thunderbolt, but it doesn't sound very thunderous. It sounds more like the hum of a fluorescent office light, and it's super quiet. You really gotta turn up your volume to hear it. To be fair, I don't think shooting electricity would sound like a thunderous boom. It should sound more zappy. This gun should be called the Lightning Bolt then, not Thunderbolt. This gun is the laziest of all. There's no reload, no sounds, no customization, no nothing. There's such a lack of assets, you can hardly call this a mod. I genuinely can't believe this was included in a $20 DLC. It is absolute slop. The Thunderbolt is by far the worst piece of Creation Club content. It makes the Fallout 4 assault rifle look like a well-designed gun. Normally, I would put this thing in the abyss. That's the lowest tier there is. But this abomination is so horrid that I have to create a new tier that's even lower. I give the Thunderbolt a rating of -666 bottle caps. It deserves to spend an eternity in the 9th layer of hell. For a much better Tesla gun mod, I recommend the Tesla Heavy Autocannon. It's a pretty slick design. There's not a bunch of random bullshit everywhere. It does reuse animations from the Gatling laser, but the animations do work, so I don't think it's a huge problem. Overall though, it's a pretty cool weapon mod. The Creation Club stuff doesn't even come close. And that wraps up everything wrong with the guns and the Fallout 4 Creation Club DLC bundle. As you can see, nothing in this bundle got a good rating. All the guns are D tier or lower, and most of them are just straight up failures. Technically, there's still 2 more guns to cover in this DLC, but I don't have access to them because I'm playing on the old gen version, and these particular mods are only available on the next gen version of Fallout 4. You see, I didn't actually buy the Creation Club bundle. Let's just say I purchased all of them individually many years ago. So if I want access to these 2 specific creations, I'll have to update my game, break all my mods, and spend $20 just to install these 2 sloppy gun mods. But I will consider reviewing them in a potential part 2 though. I would like to review the newer stuff that includes custom animations too. These newer mods look pretty solid actually. I was really hoping for these higher quality mods to be included in the Creations bundle. But no, you have to buy all these mods individually, so that's easily like another $30 to get all of them. But you know what? That is a sacrifice I'm willing to make. But when it comes to this Creation Club bundle, please don't bother spending any money on this. It's just bad. Even for the newer Creation Club content, it might be decent, but I still think free mods are better in every way. I like the idea of the Creation Club. It's a good idea to pay mod authors for their work, but we can't trust Bethesda to execute the idea. They end up getting most of the money in the end, so if you want to support a mod author, the best way to do it is to download and endorse their mods and donate to them directly. And if you guys would like to support my work, I just recently opened up a Patreon of my own. Everyone who becomes a patron will get early access to all my videos. I'll be releasing each gun as its own video, right after it's done being edited. So on Patreon, you'll get a steady flow of a couple videos per week, and then when I'm done with the whole video, I'll post it to YouTube. So yeah, I hope you guys have enjoyed this video and consider becoming a patron. You don't have to donate though. A simple like or subscribe goes a long way too. It's completely free. It costs you nothing. So if you aren't subscribed and you watch these videos all the time, then what are you doing, dude? Hit that subscribe button now. As usual, let me know what you guys think about the gun slop in the Fallout 4 Slop Club, and I'll see y'all in the next video.